Some more terms and formulas. Okay. So we've got cost drivers and activity centers. Now, cost drivers, these are causal factors, not casual factors, causal factors. I've had people say, "Well, what's a casual factor?" And I don't blame anyone for saying something like that. It's fine. I look at it too and I'm like, "Huh. That increased the total cost of a cost objective." The cost driver, we'll see examples in a second. Activities which cause costs to increase as the activity increases. All right, I'll show you an example just so you kind of have a basis of what we're going through when we're looking at these points. So, an example of a cost driver is the amount of electricity that a factory uses in a month. Well, that drives the price of the electric bill. So, the units of electricity are the cost drivers. So, however many wattage hours of electricity you use, and the electric bill is the cost, right? The number of labor hours worked by employees. So 30 hours is the cost driver, and the total labor bill is the cost. You can say that for, gosh, every example under the sun. So these are usually non financial factors, such as units of electricity, that's non financial, and hours worked are non financial. So they're not the cost themselves, but they are the reason that the cost is being incurred. That's a cost driver. It's important to know what a cost driver is and understand the relationship there. Good, good, good. Activity centers. This is the place where the cost driver takes place. For example, if the cost driver is pounds of material or hours or whatever it is, the activity center would be the material handling department. So this is just a segment, a department of the production process. Cost pool. This is a group of costs such as raw materials or direct labor or a specifically identified cost center such as certain department or manager. We talked about cost drivers and allocation. Let's see an example of one of these. All right, we're going to do much more allocation in our next lesson as mentioned, but hey, why not see it now and slowly get introduced something rather than hitting you with a wave and expecting you to be able to swim. All right, so Blue Company makes different variations of tables. The company is forecasting its future probability of its individual products. Blue's FR&A, financial reporting and analysis accountant, talk about that a lot in FAR, has estimated the amount of overhead to be allocated to individual products. So here is what's given to us. Here's the question, and here's the solution. All right, so we're given this, but let's read the question first. We use a costing system that allocates overhead based on direct labor hours. What would be the materials handling costs allocated to one unit of standard tables? What is this? How does this fit in the bigger picture? So again, we've got these joint or these overhead costs that just aren't tied to a specific product or cost driver or anything, and we allocate them. Why do we allocate them? Well, that's because kind of think of it like you've got a lump. Let's say you get $100 and you have 3 kids, and you have to assign that as allowance money to them for the week. And what are you going to do that on? Maybe it's based on the amount of hours of chores they do, or the amount of garbage they fill up when they're cleaning something, or the amount of rooms they clean, however it is. And think of it as necessary. Like you can't just have these costs floating in limbo. You need to assign them to something. That's, I think, the most concise way to explain that. Now, as I mentioned, we do have specific methods and actual formulas for allocating these, such as activity-based costing and joint allocation at split off. And I'm going to throw off a bunch of terms, but we'll go over those later. But you could also have questions that are they just tell you how to allocate it. There's no system, no formula here, no process. It's not like we're using activity-based costing. We allocate overhead based on direct labor hours. And we are going to do that, right, based on the hours, just like based on amount of garbage bags that the kids fill up, or based on the amount of rooms they clean. You have $80,000 of allowance money to allocate to them. Just reading the question, how are we allocating that money? And there you go. So here in our solution, and this is the joint process. For me, I say first step, what are you allocating? What's the total you're allocating? Well, in this case, it's 80,000. Cool, we got that. And then how are you allocating it? Well, based on hours. So it's 275 per unit, and this is just a coincidence that this one is the same, that they're the same for each. Total coincidence. Doesn't have to be that case. And then units produced, so 275 hours per unit times 35 units. That gets us 9,625 hours per for each standard and for ornate tables. So total hours, we've got this again, this is 50-50, but it doesn't have to be that case, right? Like these could be different. So budgeted materials, again, what are we allocating? We're allocating the overhead of 80,000. Okay, divided by how many hours? The total hours. That is materials handling cost per hour of $4.16. How many hours per unit is 275 hours per unit. Do a little math here, a little multiplication, and that gets us to 1,144 costs allocated to one unit. Let's recap that again. So budgeted materials, this is what we're allocating, divided by the total hours, right? And then hours per unit. So this is for standard tables, that's where the 275 is coming from. If this was 300 and this was 275, then we use 300, right? We wanted this number here, that's where we get that. So the answer would be the same regardless in this case, if it was standard or ornate. So that is how we get that. So costs allocated to one unit. And it doesn't have to be for one unit either, right? It could be to it as a whole. And for that, it would actually be much more simple because we would allocate it based on these, and that's half and half. So we would just divide this by 2, and they'd each get 40,000. But this is per one unit, keep in mind. That's what extra step here makes this tricky. Because generally with the allocations, if it's not like a super complex one, you would just say, okay, based on direct labor hours, okay, 275 divided by the total here of 275 times 2, that would get you 50%. 50% of 80 is 40,000. That's it. Nothing crazy. Just seeing questions one after another. All right. Now that we went through some of that, just want to show this to you again. Anything that is crazy important, or that I'm just super proud of. I'm not gonna let my pride interfere with what I show you. So right here, this is our wonderful chart of formulas. Take a look at it, memorize it. Please memorize it. Don't do it for me, do it for you. And this will help you significantly on the exam. If you ever stuck, right, you can just pull these formulas out and write them down and see if they help you. I hope they help you. It will help you a lot. We want to help you for every single question, but I gotta say, a good 75%.
Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.